The board call opened calmly, numbers scrolling, familiar faces nodding. I expected routine discussion, nothing more. The CEO waited until everyone was present, then spoke gently about alignment and restructuring. My position, he said, was no longer necessary. He delivered it smoothly live with witnesses. No warning had come before this moment. No private conversation followed it. I stayed silent while others watched their screens. I asked a single question, measured and neutral. Could I finish my screen share? He agreed without hesitation, already relieved. The display changed from charts to system dashboards. Access trails appeared. Dependencies surfaced. Live operations responded. The room shifted as recognition replaced comfort. What was meant to conclude my role instead opened a conversation no one planned to have that morning. I never fought for airtime in meetings. I spoke when necessary and stopped when work was done. That restraint became a miscalculation for leadership addicted to presence. The CEO confused silence with compliance, assuming influence required volume. He measured value by who spoke fastest, not who stabilized outcomes. My role seemed administrative on paper, invisible in applause-driven rooms. What he missed was pattern, not personality. I built processes to absorb pressure quietly, long before he arrived. Every expansion relied on systems designed to fail safely. I avoided credit because durability mattered more than praise. He believed removing me would barely ripple. He never asked what I maintained or why incidents never escalated. That misunderstanding allowed confidence to turn into public dismissal without hesitation. When the screen refreshed, technical layers replaced executive summaries. Authentication logs lined the left column. Permission escalations filled the center. Compliance warnings blinked in muted colors, time-stamped and unresolved. I spoke steadily, not defensively, explaining sequence rather than blame. This pathway handles approvals during growth. This override bypasses review under urgency. This change traces directly to executive authorization. The board leaned forward without prompting. Pens stopped moving. Breathing slowed. The CEO studied the screen, then his camera, then the board again. Smiles disappeared. The narrative had changed direction. What appeared as efficiency now read as exposure. This was not storytelling. It was documentation unfolding live. Termination language lost relevance as governance questions surfaced. The call had crossed into territory no rehearsed response could soften. No one interrupted after the explanation ended. Screens stayed frozen. Cameras unmuted. Silence stretched, not from confusion but evaluation. Every director recalculated position, without speaking. This was the pause where careers shift quietly. The chair finally leaned closer and asked one precise question. Was this session recorded? I answered without emphasis. Yes, automatically through internal compliance. A few faces tightened. Others exhaled slowly. That confirmation reframed the moment. The discussion no longer centered on my employment status. Attention moved toward governance failure and documented risk. Responsibility hovered visibly. The silence returned, heavier now, charged with consequence. This meeting had become evidence, not conversation. What mattered next was not who stayed or left, but who had allowed safeguards to erode unnoticed. The CEO attempted to regain control, speaking faster, reframing decisions as necessary acceleration. His tone softened, then sharpened, then softened again. It no longer guided the room. Directors began directing questions elsewhere. When were oversight protocols altered? Who approved suspension of alerts? Why was a core architect dismissed during regulatory review? Each inquiry landed calmly, without accusation. He answered partially, then broadly, then circled back. The system diagrams remained visible, unresponsive to narrative shifts. Facts held position. I stayed quiet, no longer central. The structure carried weight independently. What minutes earlier felt like authority now appeared reactive. The conversation advanced, without him leading it. Power had not moved dramatically. It simply stopped answering to presentation and started answering to documentation. They did not see a disgruntled employee defending relevance. They saw continuity placed at risk. The difference mattered. One director asked whether operations could function responsibly without architectural oversight. I responded carefully, choosing accuracy over leverage, not safely over time. That statement redirected focus toward sustainability. This was no longer about personalities or termination etiquette. It was about institutional memory walking out unnoticed. They recognized stability mistaken for silence. Another director asked how quickly risk exposure would surface. I answered honestly, without alarmism. Faster than anticipated under scrutiny. Heads nodded. This audience understood consequences more than drama. Mature leadership does not fear confrontation. It fears preventable collapse. In that moment, the board understood what absence would cost, not emotionally, but operationally. The meeting concluded without formal resolution. No applause followed. No statements were issued. The chair requested a follow-up session within days. Attendance would be limited. Leadership presence would change. Cameras went dark one by one. I was not reinstated during that call. No assurances were offered. Still, something irreversible had occurred. Authority shifted direction without announcement. Influence relocated from presentation to process. The CEO logged off last, expression controlled, posture rigid. I closed my screen share and exited quietly. There was no victory to celebrate. What mattered was recognition. The system had spoken clearly enough. Decisions would follow at their own pace. Power does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it